MBA. So far in the videos, we've been looking at business decisions and factors that might impact them. But one of the biggest factors that can affect a business is the government. Governments have a wide-reaching responsibility for the running of the whole economy, but they also have a more detailed responsibility to businesses within that economy. They provide a framework to allow businesses to work, but also provide rules and regulations that they must follow to remain in business as well. In today's video, we're going to look at what government objectives might be and some of the ways in which they can affect and control businesses and the subsequent impact. Depending on what country you are from or reside in, the responsibility of the government might be more or less specific, and they may have varying levels of support and control. Remember that with globalisation, businesses might actually be based in a number of different countries, and therefore it's their responsibility to make sure that they are maintaining the correct levels of standards for each different requirement. The main ways that governments can affect business activity are, firstly, by changing the laws. These could be health and safety requirements, quality standards, minimum wage requirements, just to name a few. It's also important to remember that these changes are not optional. Once it's a law, then businesses need to follow it or risk fines or even closure. If there was no legislation, it's likely that some businesses would be completely profit-driven and would make no effort to consider their impact on their employees or even things like the environment. And why would they if they don't have to? Taking care of the environment costs money. The main areas of legislation are consumer protection, environmental legislation, competition policy, and trade policy. And you should be aware of how each of these really influence businesses. Secondly, they can influence the interest rate and/or the exchange rates. In our last video, we learnt spiced, strong pound imports, cheap exports dear. So anything that changes the rate will have a direct impact on the costs, prices, and subsequently the demand for the products. What about the interest rate? This might be a new term for some of you, but in its simplest form, it is the cost of borrowing and reward for saving. Most businesses have loans and many consumers use credit cards, so any change in the interest rate will affect how much extra they have to pay. Thirdly, governments can change their own levels of spending and/or taxation. They could spend on infrastructure to improve overall efficiency, maybe on roads or utilities, or change the rates of taxes such as corporation tax, which would affect a business's profits. Generally, more profit is better. Some businesses can then reinvest some of that money and hopefully expand even further. Finally, they can introduce policies directly impacting businesses, such as subsidies to farmers or to firms if they choose to locate in certain areas. This is an area where we are likely to see more changes now that we've left the European Union, so allowing the UK government to have control over certain policies. Right, that's all for today's video. We've had a look at how governing policy impacts business. I hope you've taken lots of notes. If not, have a rewatch and make sure you've jotted down the main points to remember. I'm Kate with MBA. Thanks for watching.